How's it going? Mushuwan here from Up for Crime. We're here with...
Name's Ibrahim with Parking Hip Hop. We are parking.com, straight from Austin, Texas.
I'm Mickey Luna. I'm the producer for Parking, go with music for.
Alright, so how did you guys get started in your musical background? How did you get started? Was it from middle school? Did you just pick it up out of nowhere? Or did you have a passion out of it? So
well, pretty sure both of us was, had our own little different stories. We'll drop that real quick. Me was just growing up with family, mom's was a groupie lady in punk rock and heavy metal and living out in the big city, growing up and shit with hip hop and Paris one and Public Enemy and shit like that. Growing up with that kind of sparking it for that, and then went to Texas, San Antonio back in 93 or 94, and then from there got born as being an MC and writing lyrics and writing rhymes, being around breakers and graffiti artists and DJs and all that kind of stuff. Started my first hip hop group called Assassin Dynasty, and carried that on through Texas for years and years until about 7 years ago. Met Nicky up in Austin, continued to hip hop in Texas and Austin because it's more of a cultured city and a lot more music involved and musically inclined and stuff like that. And I met Nicky Lou, who just he recorded my project at once as a studio engineer, and then we just linked up by communicating about the same kind of artists that we both like a lot, and started working that part.
Alright, so how did you get started?
Well, I've been making beats forever. I started when I was about 12 or 13 years old, Got a MC303 rolling blue box thing, which is a really cheesy piece of equipment, but I learned analog step sequencing and stuff through that, and then moved on to using computer software. Messed around with Fruity Loops and Acid, and then went to Reason and Pro Tools. And then once I had a large enough budget, I switched to going all hardware. So, fleet of MPCs and synths and stuff, doing all my tracking into Pro Tools. About a year and 2 months ago, I jumped ship from Pro Tools and went to Ableton. And currently in my live setup, I use an MPC and an Ableton controller, just because it gives me more options, because MPCs traditionally have a very small amount of RAM that you can put into them, so generally they can only support about 128 megabytes worth of samples at one time, so it creates some weird stuff with loading time. So to streamline that whole process, I introduced the laptop back into it, even though for years I was a big proponent against it. But I feel not everyone's doing it, but I don't want to get left in the dust, because definitely a lot of my producer friends and stuff, are
stay up to date.
Exactly, they were using the Ableton and just getting way better tones than I could get with my outboard, hardware.
Right. So what are the origins of hardware? How did you guys meet?
Well, like you said, I was recording his first band, Bass Player, in this live hip hop band, and we got to talking, about Def Jux and shit like that, and it turned out we were into a lot of the same stuff. So I played him some of my beats, and ended up writing songs, and now it's 3 years later, we're 2 full-length albums and an EP deep, and I don't know, we've done a lot of stuff that I'm really proud of.
We repped our city, Austin, where we started at, and we repped that pretty swiftly in that city, with huge resume, shows over there for Wu-Tang and
Back Lethal, Tech Nine,
there's a lot of variety of shows that we play with, a lot of folk shows, rock shows,
exactly.
Just dance shows, electronic and all that, and kind of started getting signatured as electronic hip hop in Austin.
Yeah, because it's eclectic, but we stay true to the golden era as well,
and that's how we keep it real. The hip hop is always stays more in the garage with us, just kind of a lot of listeners get a feel of it.
Making sure it's not concentrated, it's not diluted.
Right.
Yeah, and the lyrics, are deep, but they're not very super conscious, where it's putting morals and stuff down your throat. It's very left open to interpretation. in the sense, that we're sending like a solid message about like a solid thing. But you can take it or leave it.
It's cool the way we met though, because like we were brother bands, like with my old band and his old band, which was like a really electronic band with all types of instruments and keyboards and things. And like we would all South by Southwest, we could rip up South by Southwest with as brother bands, like his band and my old band, and like we would just do so many shows like that. So we kind of like started to know each other.
Yeah, we shared like a tour band
and then we were just like, yo, and I was like, yo, man, you make beats, yo, and I was like, I'm trying to do a solo project right now with hip hop, write rhymes and do this, and it just like boom, he makes it a beat, and the first song was called Gum Scraper, and we'll play that tonight on a lot of remix.
Yeah, it's gonna be like a live
One of
routine.
those joints I was written, 3-4 years ago, but still sounds like it's written yesterday.
Alright, looking forward to it.
Yeah.
So like, you guys have anything to say to like people who aspire to get into like the music industry, like whether it be like being an MC or like producer or a DJ, anything along those lines?
Yeah, I got one big thing, and it's that it's really important to just like keep doing it and do it every day. And like, if you're a DJ or producer or whatever, just keep on doing it, because like through practice and stuff you'll get better. And also surround yourself with a good peer group of people that are doing sort of the same thing as well, so you can like bounce ideas and techniques off of them. Because I've learned so many things, probably more from my peers than any of the engineers that I've worked under.
Alright, since you guys are so true to hip hop, one last question: What do you feel about how hip hop is going currently, with all like the newcomers?
Here, I'll let you go first.
I feel like it's in a good place. Hip hop will always be a good place because there's dedicated hip hop listeners. Whether you're a student of hip hop or a life, full dressed in elements of hip hop. Breakdancing of it, the writing of it, the production of it, the video of it. Any element of hip hop possessing a walk through your life, then hip hop is always going to be, you're always going to find your hard listener. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh man, I gotta put this on while I'm doing this today because it inspires me to write rhymes or inspires me to do this and do that. That doesn't even have to be. It doesn't have to be rap music. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't have to be YouTube. It doesn't have to be Danny Brown, Action Bronson. You know what I'm saying? Like, it could be like some, punk rock music, like some Clash with Back in the Days or anything like that, or anything. Hip hop is kind of like with us and our people, kind of walk with it as like never be dead. Like cats out there in the industry, mainstream and all that. They might be like, they're making their money and stuff like that. It might be taking a turn for the worse to a lot of cats, but hip hop always stays alive because it's like it's more with us as just like people, like just breaks off of that. It's a lifestyle. So no matter what kind of music it is, hip hop always stays alive. That's how we walk. Yeah, man. I think it's going somewhere where every hip hop kid out there, and grown up too, you know what I'm saying? Can always walk with this. They can always find their truth.
Because they know the truth.
It's a walk system for hip hop, so I feel like it's always there. According to the mainstream shit, it might not, but we all know where it's at.
And I have a point I want to touch on as well with, because I definitely agree with everything that you said. With modern hip hop coming out now, around 2001 to 2003, basically all independent music took a big hit from the downloading craze, and all these indie labels went out of business. Now in the last 2 to 3 years, these indie entities have found out other ways to stay profitable. So the independent underground hip hop is coming back in a big way, thanks in part to the internet as well. So there's stuff
It's like a double-edged sword.
It is, the industry adapted and figured out how to do stuff. So it's a very exciting time because there's a lot of very exciting music, and with the rise of home recording, basically anybody can put out an album. So there's no, limit to the amount of good content that can come out of it.
Right. Alright, I'm Mushu One. We'll be right here with Parker. This concludes our one episode. We're out.